Stop for a second. Just listen. That thin, high whistle that seems to come from somewhere inside your head. Not the room, but the center of your skull. If you're over 50, there's a good chance you know the exact sound I mean. Most people call it tinnitus, and most people have heard the same thing from every direction. It's just age. Here's a white noise machine. Learn to live with it. I'd like to offer you a different way to think about that ringing. Not a cure, not a miracle. Just a more useful way to understand what your ears might be asking for, and a few things worth trying, starting with dinner tonight. Let me tell you about a man I'll call Roberto, 62, a structural engineer, sharp as they come. But the man I first sat down with was worn nearly to nothing. He hadn't slept more than 4 hours a night in 3 years. He told me, "My tests all come back normal, but I feel like I'm losing my mind." And I knew what he meant, because normal on a lab report and actually feeling well, those aren't always the same thing. Here's the picture I'd ask you to hold on to. Deep inside your inner ear, the vessels feeding your whole sense of hearing are astonishingly small, some of them thinner than a single strand of hair. And the tiny cells in there, the ones that turn vibration into the sound you hear, they depend on that delicate little supply line. When circulation to that area is poor, or the tissue is inflamed, some specialists believe those cells can begin to misfire. And your brain, working hard to make sense of a faulty signal, may read it as a sound that isn't really in the room at all. So the ringing isn't necessarily your ears breaking down. It may be your ears asking for something. And here's the hopeful part. Some of what that delicate system needs, you have real say over. Let's start with an easy mistake to make. You can be eating well and still not be absorbing what counts. Zinc is a good example. The inner ear holds one of the highest concentrations of zinc anywhere in the body, and the evidence suggests it plays a protective role there. But a few everyday things quietly get in the way. A lot of coffee, a diet heavy in processed grains. Both can interfere with how much zinc you actually take in. You can be, in a way, going hungry in the middle of a full plate. Roberto ate well, but his morning habits were quietly working against him. So we leaned into zinc-rich foods his body could actually use. Pumpkin seeds, lean proteins. And we eased off the things blocking it. A small change. And also something no one had ever thought to mention to him. Now here's a part I'd ask you to take seriously and to bring to your own doctor rather than act on alone. Some very common medications can affect hearing. Certain pain relievers and anti-inflammatories taken regularly and at higher doses are known to be hard on the inner ear. I am not telling you to stop anything. Please don't. Some of these matter a great deal, and stopping the wrong one on your own can do real harm. What I'm saying is simpler than that. If you take something every day for sore joints or for headaches, that's a conversation worth having. Just ask the plain question, could anything I'm taking be part of this? Sometimes the answer changes everything, and it's a question only you and your doctor can safely work through together. The next piece is about the nerve itself. Picture an old electrical cord, the kind where the coating has worn thin. It hums, it buzzes. Vitamin B12 helps keep the protective layer around your nerves intact. And here's the catch. As we get older, the stomach often gets less efficient at absorbing it. So a level that looks technically fine on paper might not be doing the job for someone whose nerves are already struggling. I won't hand you a magic number. Where your own level should sit is a genuinely personal question for your doctor, ideally with a simple blood test. But it belongs on the table. Have you noticed the sound gets louder when you're stressed or after a long, hard day? There's a reason that makes sense. Think of one brain chemical as the gas pedal and magnesium as part of the brake. Under stress, that accelerator gets pushed hard. And if your magnesium is running low, there's less there to soften it. So the whole system can get, for lack of a better word, wound up. Magnesium-rich foods are an easy, low-risk place to begin. Almonds, avocado, dark leafy greens. You're not silencing anything overnight. You're just gently turning down the volume on a system that's been running too hot. There's also real reason to pay attention to vitamin D, which, it turns out, matters far beyond your bones. Some research points to people with ongoing, bothersome tinnitus tending to have lower vitamin D levels. Now, that's an association, not a proven cure. But it's suggestive enough to act on sensibly. 15 minutes of morning sun. Foods like salmon and eggs. And if you're going to consider a supplement for any of this, that's one more thing to run past your doctor first. More is not automatically better. Now, the single most useful idea I can give you, and I saved it for right here on purpose. That 3 in the morning thing, the sound that seems loudest in the dead of the night. It isn't only about the quiet room. Your body does much of its repair work while you sleep. And if the raw materials simply aren't there while it's trying to do that work, well, the process has less to draw on. So think of the last meal of your day as the most important one for your ears, not a bigger meal, a smarter one. Give your body, in the evening, the very things it's reaching for through the night. Which brings us to tonight. Here's a dinner worth trying. A piece of baked salmon that takes care of your vitamin D and your omega-3s, which help keep your cells supple and flexible. Lay it over a generous bed of baby spinach for the magnesium. Then scatter a handful of raw pumpkin seeds across the top for the zinc. Dress it simply. Olive oil, fresh lemon, and a little grated ginger. One of those humble kitchen staples long thought to support healthy circulation. One plate. Quietly full of everything we just talked about. A fair word of caution. Don't expect silence by morning. Roberto didn't. Nerves that took years to wear down take weeks to feel any different. And I'll be honest with you, for some people, the change is modest. This isn't a switch you flip, but somewhere in those first several weeks, he noticed something, and he said it better than I could. He told me, the sound is still there, but it's further away now. It's not at the front of my mind anymore. Last month, he sent me a photo. Him at a park with his young daughter. He said he could hear her laugh again, without the whistle competing for his attention. And that, right there, is the part that matters. Not perfect silence. A life that's simply louder than the ringing. So here's what I'll leave you with. You're allowed to be curious about this. You're allowed to ask more questions than you've been handed answers for. Start with one dinner. Have one honest conversation with your doctor and see what begins to shift. Cuídese mucho. And tell me, down in the comments, which of these already has a place in your routine? And which one are you going to try first?